C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate. I'm wearing this pretty much because it's baseball season still, of course. Oakland Athletics are still in the running from what I gather, but even if they aren't, it shows I am a strong supporter and fan of Oakland Athletics ever since I was a very young boy at the age of 4. Even 3 at that point. Anyway, um, today's topic is going to be directly on um, two particular businesses. A number of them are franchises, and one's retail. And I will mention a few things maybe outside the business aspect, possibly. We shall see. But anyway, the retailer Forever 21 is known to be a female, a woman type shop like Chico's. Although Chico's is for older women, and be that between, I'd say, 40s through 70s and whatnot, age bracket. Um, but Forever 21 essentially is like, say, shall we say, Hot Shots or whatever the hell it was. And they were like the 80s clothes time and maybe in a sense dress barn for various types of women. But of course, Forever 21 was directly aiming towards the teenage bracket of the female. And the 20-year-old, the petite, that of course Macy's and J.C. Penney's and so many others even before Forever 21 have tried to target as well. And of course, I know there are many other ones that I haven't really mentioned that are no longer with us with the retailer, the clothing retailer aspect. But Forever 21 is said to possibly close a number of their stores. The number is still in question, even possibly to this point. But see, this is the part I'm going to mention outside of business. It is thought and said by many MGTOW members that women, be that of course feminists, women, will try to blame us men for that. Those who don't comply with what women want, as to the point where the guy has to spend his hard-earned money on them and not on him, when basically, even if you are in a relationship, a man deserves to spend his money on him equal to her, especially in the marriage aspect. But women don't see it that way. They only see something within themselves and for themselves. That's it. And yet, I know many women will say that they don't. They're not that way, just to make them look good because they can accept it. And of course, many MGTOW members would agree with that. But outside of that, Forever 21 has targeted the teenage and even to a point preteen of women, and even in the 20-year-old bracket to some extent. But the one thing is that with the so-called brick and mortar stores closing due to various different reasons of their own, like for example, Sears has been gradually declining because obviously they don't the current CEO and president of Sears that also had Kmart merge with them, essentially with an agreement aspect of contract of sorts to help Kmart get out of Section 11. Um, He's basically, he doesn't know jack diddle about how to run a retailer, even such as Sears or even Kmart for that matter. Yet he's been mentioning that he's gonna do that. He's gonna buy out Kmart, Sears's um, bad situation. He hasn't done it. Sears is already in the hole, and he hasn't put anything towards it to deplete it. Because the more he sits and says that shit, the deeper in the hole Sears gets. And I can guarantee you, the founders of Sears, um, um, of Mr. Sears and Roebuck, if they were alive, they would kick his butt for doing that to their company. Yes, Sears started by delivery of the steam locomotive. Be that after farmers, it was directed mostly to farmers that ordered on their catalog. And of course, Montgomery Ward's was the first one before Sears Grant. But of course, Montgomery Ward's went completely belly up and out of the retail atmosphere, essentially, a lot quicker, way quicker than Sears. Of course, J.C.Penney thought many people thought J.C.Penney was about to follow suit. They're still in that aspect, even though J.C.Penney's is still moderately or small to moderate around. And of course, there was saying that J.C.Penney would possibly outdo Sears, even with the steep decline of Sears currently. There's no way that J.C.Penney would be able to do that because they're in a more than a major decline of their own. Would Fair would Fair, would Forever 21 be able to get out of the financial slump and economic slump that they're in? Or would they turn into another dress barn to where dress barn eventually decide to close every one of their stinking stores across the board? And yet there's a dress barn sign still, from what I last saw, over in the Sunrise, the Citrus shopping center on Greenback and Sunrise, is on the very bottom of one of the street signs, down the way from the Wendy's and whatnot. The street sign says dress barn on the very bottom of it. I'm sure the dress barn sign on the building is long gone by now, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, the next thing is, okay, Dunkin' Donuts is killing themselves. Everybody knows, not well, about a number of years ago that they took down the name Donuts, right? Dunkin' Donuts started with the word Dunkin' and Donuts. And from the very first time they entered the business world of franchising, especially. And now they're trying to do what they think they can do by competing with Starbucks, their main target, and McDonald's and possibly others. But the one thing is, like Tim Hortons, for example. But the one thing is that McDonald's and Starbucks didn't drop what they have had since the very beginning, which is pastries and coffee and tea and whatnot for Starbucks. Hamburgers, French fries, and salads and whatnot, and chicken nuggets and what have you, for McDonald's. both have been able to keep with what they do, what they know best, and what they've done since the very first bit in the very first installation inside the franchise world of business. Dunkin' Donuts did one thing they should not have done. And yeah, they could have taken down the donuts part. Still, granted, yes. But the one thing is, they're known as a donut shop, just like Winchell's was. Yet they want to completely revamp everything and try to act like their own version and uh, style base of their own version of a coffee shop or a cafe or however you want to look at it or label it as. Dunkin' Donuts does not realize they cannot outdo those two places being Starbucks and McDonald's. They cannot outdo Starbucks with the fact that Starbucks didn't drop any of their shit to have any competition with any of the two or three or even against Pete's Coffee. In fact, it was Pete's Coffee's founder that helped the founders of Starbucks, and eventually they were able to afford their own aspect of coffee grounds and whatnot in the beginning, way before they started franchising all across the United States, from Seattle, Washington, up north. That's the history of it. And of course, with the controversies that Starbucks and McDonald's has had, that still hasn't staled or stiffened their popularity to the points to where they get less and less or moderately less at various points. People keep on going to them because they know what they're best at and what they've been known for since the very fucking beginning. Dunkin' Donuts has completely revamped themselves in taking away what they're known for and trying to get a new name for themselves. But the one thing is that they could do the same thing by keeping what they're known for without the donuts name, if they so choose. But keep what they're known for, which is the donuts and other pastries and such whatnot else, right? And keep the sandwiches and keep revamping their coffee choices and frothy coffees, whatnot, iced coffees and what have you. Just like McDonald's. McDonald's kept on building up their beverage aspects, from soft drinks to orange juices, apple juices to the teas, the coffees, whatnot, and still kept what they've been known for since the mid to late 1940s. And yes, that's exactly when McDonald's was was essentially first established in the franchise world by Dick and Mac McDonald before Ray Kroc bought them out with the name and the whole entire operation and rights to the company. And yes, there's a many people know this, that there's a basically true story known as the Founder that tells a true story about McDonald's in its own right, in its own aspect, and what they know of and the knowledge that they were given on that aspect. But here's the thing, though, too. McDonald's did one stupid thing, though, since that movie. They tore down the very building that Ray Kroc opened, that they used as a museum even since they've been in business, right? But ever since that movie, they're making bucos of dollars, regardless of how their stock is, right? They're still making bucos of dollars, but yet they claim, oh, we can't afford the uh, the electricity on the sign. They could have easily revamped that sign and kept its originality, the street sign, and kept the building to its originality. But they decided to do the stupidest, most expensive shit to do, and which could easily hurt them eventually, by tearing down the very thing, the very iconic building that helped them get to where they're at right now. Outside of serving billions and billions and billions and billions of customers, upon way beyond billions, even to this point. That's one so far the only thing that they've done wrong in the business concept. With keeping what they don't realize, with keeping the museums at different locations, at the once used and once operated and publicly visited, in franchise eateries, if you will, um, that they've put closed and used only for museum visits type of setup. Ray Kroc's location is the one that closed down and tore down. Basically tore down. Bad move there, McDonald's. The one other thing is that let's see, Starbucks has had particular racial issues, racial and other aspects of issues, but that hasn't really stopped people from going to their franchises, regardless of the fact that even when Starbucks closed a number of their stores or their franchise stores, if you will, that people still kept on coming and coming. That rebuilt the company gradually, without even people realizing. Even inside stores like Safeway. Dunkin' Donuts is not going to be succeeding in the competition between those two. Starbucks is going to stay strong and get stronger each time that Dunkin' Donuts waste their cash and try to re-innovate themselves continuously. McDonald's is going to be the same thing. They're going to the more that Dunkin' Donuts re-innovates themselves, even to compete against McDonald's is not going to be scathed or harmed in any way. Tim Hortons not going to be scathed and harmed in any way either. And yes, Tim Hortons was in the U.S. and probably still is in the U.S. from what I understand. But it's known. Tim Hortons is known as a Canadian company franchise. But the one thing though, if Dunkin' Donuts does not go back to selling what they are known for and still re-innovate themselves, even if they have to get a larger building, like Togo's did with 31 Flavors. Then basically, just like we've been saying adios to Winchell's Donuts House, we will soon be saying the same thing. We could easily be saying soon, maybe not so soon, but soon enough anyway, the same thing to to Dunkin' Donuts, or in this case, Dunkin'. So Dunkin' Donuts franchisees and franchisors, and be that starting from the corporate, hopefully you are watching this. And if the managers or employees are watching this of any of the three that I mentioned in the franchise business, do know that one, if you're working for McDonald's, you're safe. The company is safe. And of course, with that, Dunkin' Donuts has no chance. If you're a barista over at any Starbucks location, even the one that's across town from where you're currently at, in residence, Starbucks is safe in the competition against Dunkin' Donuts. If you are with Dunkin' Donuts, however, it is logical to realize that you may not be working for Dunkin' Donuts if they keep on trying to revamp themselves to have a better competition aspect against McDonald's and against Starbucks, which of course I know the main focus is Starbucks. So Dunkin' Donuts franchise corporate, you need to really, really think of what I said. Because like I said, Winchell's later on tried it without having any actual strong or even direct competition with anybody. But the only thing is, they kept what they were known for, which is donuts. Of course, they didn't go towards the coffees and iced coffees and such like that right away. And of course, I know they were probably building up to that, but they didn't. What happened instead was they got to the point of where Mervin's is non-existent, and soon Dunkin' Donuts corporate, you will be following the same suit, metaphorically. So it is my advice that Dunkin' Donuts get back into reality and get and they can keep the donut part of the name down. It doesn't matter, but bring back what they were known for, which is donuts and pastries, and they keep the breakfast sandwiches. They can keep the coffees, but do not think that by getting rid of what you're known for is the best way to compete against anybody, because that is not the way to do business. Yeah, CNBC was the one that got my attention on this, along with Forever 21. I will go back into Forever 21 once I'm finished with this, but I know business enough to know you take down something that you're well known for just to better compete with the particular another other franchise of what they're known for, and you try to compete in your own style and your own method and way, even after dropping two things that you're known for: the name donuts and the actual donuts to start with. You're not gonna survive very long, and you're not gonna be secure for very long. There is one aspect that Duncan could do: pull out of the NYSE. That's the only way they'd be able to stay afloat and be able to revamp without any worries about their stockholders. because it is what they would be focusing on besides what the customer reactions are and the customer satisfaction aspects and whatnot else, and also the health and wellness of the customers as well as their employees and employers and the cleanliness of their locations, franchised or corporate ran essentially. I speak the truth on that. Back to Forever 21. Forever 21 is not so not so lucky in the sense of trying to revamp themselves because yes, they can close stores, but closing stores doesn't really help anything because the more stores they close, the less foot traffic because each one has a different level of foot traffic every part of the week and every part of the month and even during the holidays and birthdays. But the one thing is that women have been worried about the way men look at them. Yet teenagers don't worry about that because that's exactly what they want. But their mothers and fathers don't want that. But yet Forever 21 wants to stay in the popular aspect of what teen girls want or what 20-year-old girls want, regardless of their parents' wants and acceptance and whatnot else. But here's the one thing though. Parents will always accept the child for who and how they are. But the one thing is they always will worry about them. Because they're scantily clad, showing their belly button with even with a piercing in right there, and all the showing more skin than they should really, even when it comes to really skinny ass shorts or skirts, whatever the fuck else, right? And the basic fact is that's the truth. There should be a real aspect of fashion thought on that aspect for Forever 21 and make it more in the affordable aspects for Forever 21 and its consumers. Because the economy is strong, granted, but not very many women, even teenage women, are willing to work because they expect the man to pay, and if not the man, their parents. And yet women want to expect, and even teenage women want to feel that they're independent, that they are independent even by doing that. They're not being independent by doing that. But the one thing is also in the MGTOW sense, many women will continuously blame men because of the basic fall of the brick and mortar fashion stores such as Forever 21 and many others. But it's not the man's fault. It's the way the ball bounces in business. But not very many women, if any woman, realistically looks at it that way. And that's the truth. So Forever 21, you can do one thing. Or do more than one thing. The one thing you're planning to do is to close down a number of stores to revamp your financial bracket budget to better rebalance the company and its base of existence and whatnot, right? And much more. But you could also do something in the sense of fashion, and I know you're big enough to do it. You're popular enough to do it. And for you, it shouldn't cost you no more than, in your sense, a few pennies. But in real sense, look, a number of hundreds of dollars or more. You can still do the popularity showing skin, but do it in the sense that the word parents will would also agree with, not not solely for the teenage, because things are getting tougher and tougher out there, even for teenage and preteens, women as well as in the 20-year-old, college, university aspects. And I can guarantee you, you may eventually grow a major more than respect um, from parents. Don't only go by what the current teen and preteen and college teen wants, and even 20-year-old teen, female wants. Think of take some consideration into listening to the parents. But also, before you close any of one of the stores, if you still are going to do that, take into consideration the ones that have not gotten hardly any business, except for maybe on holidays and maybe weekends, right? Starting within malls as well as the standalone stores, right? Then pull out the ones from the malls because, of course, that's even more costly. I know. But keep a very close watch on each one of those standalone stores, and if they still show the same foot traffic percentages week per week, month by month, even before the end of this year, you can inform the management of those stores. Try to sell as much shit as they can of the clothing as well as the fixtures, even in the percentage of 70% or 60 or 50 or 20 or 40, whatever the hell, whatever, right? In the going out of business sale for that location. And with that, you can also relocate that same store into a different location, but using the same management. If the management of that particular location has done good enough within your viewpoint. That's the best way to run a business. Of course, what Dunkin' Donuts is currently doing is there might be, and I'm not going to say for sure, but there might be another business advocate video, but I'm working on it. I'm still working on it, but I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to direct it towards yet. Um, the one thing, though, too, I could say that Rite Aid, seeing a good percentage of it is owned by Walgreens, and Walgreens bought out a number of their East Coast stores and closed a number of those same East Coast stores. And of course, the Rite Aid on Sunrise has closed and the building is still vacant, from what I gather. Across the street from Staples and PetSmart and whatnot. The one thing though, it's a good thing that store is closed because that store wasn't a bad location in the first place. I was surprised it lasted as long as it did. But even with the fact that Walgreens is planning to still close a number of their stores, even within the European market, I have a feeling that it's going to be a number of their Boots um, acquired stores that they'll close as well. And that's the thing right there too. That's one thing that In and Out has been intelligent on. They know when not. Well, they know not to, one, connect with um, the NYSE, thereby it would be putting pressure on the company and its execs due to the shareholders. And the other thing is that they are gradually expanding, but not so quickly as Starbucks did, and as Subways did, and as McDonald's did, and as many other franchise and retailers have done from the very beginning, from the very first installation of the company. Let's put it in that aspect. Now, what do you think? But also, here's another one. Safeway is still have it still has Albertsons as a moderate to large percentage of owner of its own company. Safeway was it started as a, if you want to call it, even in today's view, as a farmers market setup in 1923 to 24 and 28 through 20 to 28, and eventually the Skaggs family owned Safeway, and thereby, of course, opened more stores. It got to the point where it was known that Skaggs family owned it, essentially, along with Payless and and of course, Osco and Alpha Beta was also owned by Skaggs, the Skaggs family. But the one thing is that now Alpha Beta is no longer, still, of course. Lucky's tried to make a comeback not too long ago, a number of years back anyway, and of course didn't succeed very big as much as I'm sure they thought they would. And also, see, Albertsons is gradually acting like a realty company, not a grocer. Why I say that is because they gradually merged with Lucky's. Then eventually, from within, tore Lucky's to shreds from within. Thereby, Lucky's was no more. Then Albertsons took over, and then eventually Albertsons had to close a number of their stores, which basically Save Mart took over a number of those buildings. Now Save Mart's closing a number of those same buildings, of the stores of the buildings, right? But not too long, many years ahead from that point, Albertsons merged with Safeway, even though Kroger was about to merge with Safeway as well. But Kroger didn't get that chance because, of course, I guess in some respect that you could say that Albertsons beat them to the punch. But Albertsons doesn't realize that the more they stay attached to Safeway and try to tear Safeway down as they did to Lucky's, and I know Albertsons execs and CEO and president will deny that shit, but it's an actuality. They may not have done it in the, shall we say, fabric of sorts, but in the financial sense they did. But eventually, if Safeway is not careful, Safeway will have the same fate. And we don't want that because Safeway is a well trusted, well known, family family shopped supermarket, way more than Albertsons ever was. And also with the still possible aspects of the online grocery market via Amazon, even though Amazon is a percentage owner of Whole Foods, Amazon is still contemplating, even secretly, to set up ways to do online grocery shopping. If they're going to be, how they're going to put that whole thing along with what they already have in their warehouses currently, that has yet to be seen. But at the same time, is that they have to pass a lot of codes and they cannot cut corners. Because if Amazon cuts any corners, they'll turn into a CVS. Because CVS was sued 3 times before, many years before they acquired Long's. When the CEO and president of Long's put the company of Long's up for sale secretly. CVS was sued 3 times for selling over-the-counter expired items such as baby formula, milk, and various others. There was only a one. There was only a one instance that Rite Aid had sold to a customer an expired over-the-counter Anacin product, if you will. It wasn't really an Anacin per se, but it was an aspirin product of sorts. I can't remember exactly currently if it was their name brand or if it was an actual name brand. But in that case, Rite Aid was sued. Long's helped them out by buying about 35 stores of theirs. Although at one point it was going to be 38 stores of Rite Aid, but it went down to 35. That helped Long's exponentially in the competition aspect, but also it helped Rite Aid in the financial aspect after being sued. But here's the one thing, as I said in the other business advocate videos, is that CVS it has not done and still isn't doing, from my understanding especially, is still not doing what Longs did. Longs had every few months or so, or every few weeks or whatever, in that sense, depending on the location and district, where they'd have an employee go to each different section of the store of aisles and within the aisles and make sure that not one item was even near the expiration date, even in the freezer. And if it was, they'd replace it, right? Simple. Rite Aid should do the same thing. Walgreens should do the same thing. Every retailer across the board should do the same thing. CVS isn't. What CVS is doing, this may shock you. If you are a current shopper or even employee of CVS, you already know this, but if you're a current shopper of CVS, and if you do get your prescriptions at CVS, doesn't matter where it is. If you look on various areas of the store, from what I've noticed so far, it's on their freezer doors. They may take it down after I say this. They'll say, if you see any, it'll say like, if you see any expired item or expired product, please let our staff members know or our CVS employees know, right? That shows they don't consider the well-being and safety and health of the customers. Longs had more more than a concern and more than a well-being of that by making sure not one item was even near or even on its expiration. CVS hasn't followed the same path on that aspect. They're still thinking that they're so big they don't have to do that shit. It doesn't matter how big you are, no matter what type of business you're in operation of and ownership of or founder of, you still need to do exactly what I said that Longs did. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business, it doesn't matter none of that crap. Even with the fact that CVS is saying, "Oh, we care about our customers' health, even in our pharmacies." It shows type of shit, right? They may not say it outright like that, but you get my, you get the drift. They'll say anything to show that they care, to try to prove and show that they care about their customers, even the former Longs customers. But by doing what I said they've been doing outside of what Longs has done, that doesn't show any positive on CVS's part, regardless how big they are. It doesn't matter. CVS can easily be taken down more than they realize. Because if anything happens to any customers, believe me, the lawsuits will get heavier and heavier. They've already been sued 3 times. I don't think they want to go into a fourth or a fifth. Any more red marks, CVS, and you could be gone with the wind. And that would put Walgreens and Rite Aid and many other pharmacy retailers that I have not mentioned in the running. Although there is a possibility that the remaining Rite Aid stores might turn into a Walgreens. There's still a possibility of that. Or even to the points where Walgreens takes over the rest of the company in Rite Aid, complete takeover, complete buyout, right? And a number of stores either turn into a Walgreens from a Rite Aid, or they completely shut down every one of the Rite Aids with no revamping anything. But here's another one. Before the acquisition of Longs from CVS and the bid war between Walgreens and CVS for Longs, before all that, Safeway was sued or was said to be sued, or possibly put a lawsuit against due to their pharmacy fuck up. Because a young married couple went into a Safeway somewhere back east, and if I remember right, the pharmacy gave her the wrong prescription. She was prescribed prenatal medication due to the fact that she was pregnant to start with. The pharmacy of that particular store gave her the wrong prescription. Guess what happened? She gave birth to a from what I understand, a stillborn child, but of course, from what I gather, probably wasn't alive or not. I don't know, or it could have been to where they were able to save it. There was no full aspect to it, but the basic fact is that was a big, big risk. Although at the same time, I know that if it wasn't a positive thing, believe me, I can totally understand what they went through. No person wants to have that happen, even to a woman who's about to give birth to a child that is innocent among all else. I'm about to come into this world. Safeway made a big fuck up on that one, didn't they? And yet they think they are going to be protected by Albertsons. No. So Albertsons needs to pull away from Safeway before Amazon comes in to the online market, because they're not going to have an easy time merged with Safeway, no matter what the percentage is of that they own Safeway of, right? And still run their own stores, wherever the hell they may be. Hell, I don't know. I don't even care where, and I don't care how many Albertson stores. But the basic fact is that those stores will be negatively affected. Safeway may not be so affected, but Albertsons will be. So for the CEOs and president of Albertsons better take heed to what I say and pull out of Safeway. Let Safeway succeed on their own, which they've been doing for more than several years. And they've had no issues, no conflicts, no complications aside from the strikes. And focus on your own stores, Albertsons, and quit trying to act like a realty company, because you're a fucking grocer. A retail grocer. You're not a fucking retail realtor. If you want me to mention any other um, real retailers or any other aspect of business, please let me know on the bottom or on C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate on my Facebook page. This is C.R.P.H.A. Business Advocate. Have a good day, and do know that we support Trump as many Trump supporters do. If you don't, trust me, been he's been doing what he said he would do, and he's going to continue doing it. No Democrat has promised things and kept their promise, starting with Obama. And yes, I respect Obama as a person, but his political policies completely blew chunks. He only did what Hillary would have done, was sit and twiddle his thumbs as shit happened that's negative to the American people. And he would try to save face and try to say, "Oh, we should be okay." And all he cared about was him looking good. Trump is not about that. Trump is about America, 100%, and about the American people and our youth and the future for all in the United States and the safety for all in the United States. And to our troops, we salute you and thank you for your service. And to our veterans, we thank you for your service. Have a good day.